Hello, welcome, my friends, to another stream of Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And on today's stream, you guys are in for a real treat. I promise you that. So we're in the flow of our three-part series where we've got three illustrators exploring the theme Urban Nights with various styles. And today is part two with the very talented illustrator, story maker, and co-founder of Little Black Spot Studio, Raquel Costa. Raquel, how are you doing today?
Hi, Kieran. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to the Adobe Live team for having me one more time. It's great to be here. So yeah, really excited about today's session.
I know. I mean, there's going to be awesome vibes. Like I've seen your work, and for anyone who hasn't seen it, we'll go through the flow of it. But it is very, very cool. So I'm a bit of a fan. I'll put it out there straight away. And I can see in the chat we've got folks coming in thick and fast. Hi, Tim. Hi, Oliver, Gareth, Stephanie, Caroline. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, if you're viewing on Behance or YouTube, pop a little note in the chat. Let us know where you're streaming in from. And of course, any questions you have for Raquel while she's designing in her flow, get that in the chat and I will make sure I will do my best to share that directly. On a final note, very, very quickly, if you haven't already joined the Adobe Live community, give a little subscribe on YouTube channel and follow us on Adobe Live on Instagram. And there you can get the latest streams, updates, and so much more. And I promise you, your creative soul will appreciate it much later. So, Raquel, it's that time. Would you like to introduce the folks a bit about your work and, of course, what we're working on for today?
Yeah, of course. So I should start by saying that for those of you who don't know me, I'm an artist and illustrator based in Portugal. I'm also a teacher and educator for quite some years now. And in terms of my illustration work, I've been mostly working on children's books and editorial illustration, also doing some concept art for animation, some visual development. So it's normal for those of you who go through my social media profiles or my Behance portfolio that you'll see a kind of diverse array of different styles and outputs. And nice. I used to think it was a negative thing, and now I've fully embraced it, the diversity and that. I love that. I like to explore different things. I like to work on different kinds of projects, and so. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit of the work that I've been doing more recently. So nice. I have a selection here of some projects. Some of them, people who know my work might have already seen me show them. In terms of children's illustration, this is one of the books that I illustrated. That's already been published more recently, Noah, and it's a special one because it's been having receiving some very much appreciated love. Nice. It has been shortlisted for illustration competitions internationally. It has won a children's book award, a very reputed one here in Portugal, and so this is a kind of a showcase of the children's illustration that I worked on. And as you might see, I really like to work with the textures and hand painted details. Like
it feels so warm. I get that vibe coming through. It's lovely.
Yeah. Particularly in this book, the story has a kind of a sad note about it. When the motto for the story is something sad, and so my purpose was that. To bring some warmth and some joy even through the illustration. So
nice.
It's quite kind of what I really like doing. And you might know that even when I work in different styles and for different outputs, I always like to play a little bit with the limited color palettes and some very simple lighting effects sometimes like this one. I do think that the light effects, it's what always kind of helps you get into the mood of what you're trying to convey in any kind of visual narrative. So I do like to play with lighting effects.
Nice.
And moving on to just a kind of a sneak peek into a children's book that hasn't come out yet. It's a book that I finished illustrating just in the beginning of this year. It's called Thanks Blanket. It was a beautifully written story by Canadian author Chris Vanderkooy. And it's expected to be launched in North America later this year. So this is just kind of like a preview. And once again, my joy for playing around with different kinds of moods and the way the light or darkness can really convey a different feeling in an illustration and help you. It's kind of like what helps establish the psychology of the character in that moment. So I think it's nice to play around with that.
I mean, it comes through quite well. Even just, from what we're looking at now, I can see in the comments some lovely comments from the chat. But yeah, it comes across so well from the color and the light and even the texture. So yeah, hit the nail on the head for sure there.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Because most of my work, my commercial work, at least in the last few years, has been mostly digital in terms of medium, but I do like to keep working with analog mediums, and I do love that feeling you get from the texture of the paint and the coloring pencils and crayons. And so even when I'm working digitally, I'm always trying to convey that, or mostly always trying to convey that feeling. And still in regarding a more children's like illustration, I've also been doing the covers for the new Portuguese editions of Enid Blyton's Secret Seven adventure books. And so these are just a few examples of the covers that I've worked on. And since it's adventure and mystery books, of course, the environments are always a bit, something mysterious is happening. There are a lot of scenes happening later in the evening. So it's really a cool pretext to play around with light and shadow. This is just a few examples of these covers that I've been working on. This is one of my favorites, and
I love you mentioned again light being that. Sorry.
No. Go ahead, Karen.
I was like, I love how you mentioned that the light is the focal point, which again, I mean, it's pretty clear that gentleman's looking in as well, and it's that kind of insight into it's a secret, but we don't know what it is, right? It's that looking into the window, no pun intended. But I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's exactly it. The light, it's one of the things that helps you really establish the focal points, and I use that a lot in my illustration work. And even sometimes you have scenes like this where it's not so evident, but it's still there as a concept that I keep in mind while working in the general environment for the daylight or nighttime scene. And again, it's a bit more evident here. And in one of the latest covers for the Secret Seven books, there's also kind of like a tiny little bit of light coming through the window. So
you got to get that in there, right? We can't not have the light.
Yeah. So it's really trying to pull you in and invite you to discover what's going on. And what happens is that I've been trying to push this kind of illustration visual language a bit out of the children's books mediums and into other outputs. And this is an example of a few selection of images from a project that I haven't really talked about publicly yet. But so this is a good opportunity to really first show the full illustration. So this is just a selection of a few illustrations that I created in the end of last year for a Croatian IT company called Kroz. And just to try and sum up a kind of a really long brief, they were working with some NGOs in Croatia, and they sourced some key concepts and ideas about values that they thought meant really described their work and their connection with the people that they are trying to help. And so they created a calendar with 12 illustrations based on those key concepts and those storytelling ideas that they got sourced from the NGOs. And my purpose here was to try and create a visual narrative that it wasn't corporate, that it wasn't literal, that it wasn't just something boring trying to visually describe what the specific meaning of the concept is. For example, for this image, the concept was sustainability, and what I wanted to do with this sequence of illustrations was how can I make this about magic? Because when you're talking about NGOs and institutions that help other people, it's all about human connection and how they are not just in contact and connected to each other, but also to their environment and the world around them, and how that interaction can help foster better and brighter things. So it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship where if it's done with positive energy, good things will come out. And so that was what I was focusing on. And so for these sequence of illustrations, light is what more directly translates the magic that's happening. So you have this kind of brilliant. Like fireflies that the girl and the woman are extracting from the earth. And then it's a really cool sequence. Another one of my favorites, trying to focus on the idea of fearlessness from in this case children who sometimes have very, very little support. And so moving on, different environments. No, I was going to say,
I mean, everything. I mean, from the comments, I've definitely, and I will definitely promise you, folks, read through your comments, because there's nothing but positive energy and positive chats coming through in the convo box about your work, Raquel, and especially as well, you know, obviously in keeping with our theme for today with urban lights as well, urban nights, I should say, not urban lights. I've got lights in the head now, stuck in the brain, but urban nights. It's kind of nice to sort of see everything you've done and to get a flavor of, you know, the type of work you do, and even more so how we'll be kind of leading that in for today's stream. I mean, how would you say, with everything you've shown us, how is that going to encompass with what you want to work on for today's stream?
Yeah, so this will get me right to a point where I wanted to show you somewhere where I try to change things up a bit, and where I try to move away from working just in children's style illustration, and I wanted to give either my characters and my environments a bit more stylized approach, but in a more adult way, so that I could also work on more adult themes and more complex narratives. And so this was from a project that I did a few years ago, where I first started exploring that. And what happened here, I've shown some of these images before on my streams, is that I was happy with where I was going in terms of the stylization of the characters and the environments. I like the fact that limited color palettes really help work with that lighting and shadow effect, doing most of the storytelling work. But this is from a short comic story that I always like to show, because this is where everything started to really come together for me in terms of the kind of images that I wanted to put out, really kind of inspired by some neo-noir ambiances, where there's a hint of mystery, and it's kind of low-key palettes, color palettes. And in this case, what happened is that I'm happy with the composition, I'm happy with the stylization, I'm happy with the color work. But what I started thinking was that my work was getting a bit constricted by the use of line. Okay, so you might have noticed everything has it's line based. It's kind of the same here, and I did want to start moving towards a more painterly approach, because even though I do tend to do line work as an instinct when creating an illustration, I do think that my work turns out better when I'm more spontaneous in that painterly approach. So I wanted to start exploring things that would allow me to have my illustrations serve a bit more adult output towards not just children's books, but also editorial illustration and concept art even. And so I started doing developing these visual languages, and I even took them further in this book. This one of the not exactly a children's book, it more a young adult maybe book that I illustrated about Ferdinand Magellan and his voyage of circumnavigation. And again, I'm happy with the stylization. I like the textures, but it's all about line, and I can't explain this better in any other way. Just I think it gets a bit constricted, and it makes it harder to look natural. So what I've been working on more recently, and that's what I'm bringing to the session today, is a type of approach that doesn't rely on online so much. And this is just a snippet of an editorial project that I worked on recently for a magazine, spring edition, focusing on how you can do beautiful flower arrangements with natural flowers. And this is one of the first projects that already came out where I started to work on that more painterly approach. Still not exactly where I want it to be yet. Another example with an illustration that was commissioned for it's a bit more dark and eerie, but I think it's fun that I show this sometimes, because otherwise people are mostly used to seeing my children's illustration work, and they might not know that I have this other side and
the dark side.
The dark side, where I like to play with the contrasts of color and light in a different way, and more adult theme. So this is what inspired by the music of a Portuguese band called Mão Morta. If you haven't heard of it,
I haven't, but I'll send it to me after. Please do. It's my Spotify playlist.
It's one of the most well-known Portuguese rock bands, and then they have this really they create these really cool atmospheres with sound. That's kind of like what I like to also work on in visually. So this is samples from my portfolio. And where does this specifically tie into what I'm going to do? So I mentioned I wanted to go through a more painterly approach, not rely so much on online. Also, when we're talking about, for example, doing these kinds of work, it tends to be a bit more time consuming to do the color, because I have to essentially lasso everything, fill with flats, and then work the texture with layers. I have fun with it, but it's more mechanical, and I do like to paint. I like to draw and paint, and so what I'm trying to connect to is that feeling of drawing and painting more gesturally. Okay.
Yeah.
So for today, let me just guide you through kind of some references that I had. So you gather from what I already said that I do like this kind of imagery where the lighting helps you get into a certain mood and convey sometimes kind of like a mysterious or sometimes even unsettling atmosphere. And so when I heard the theme Urban Nights, I couldn't help but think, it just came popping into my head, the paintings of Edward Hopper, like this Nighthawks at the Diner, or even this one where you have this kind of feeling that it's a moment captured in slow-mo where you know something is happening with these characters, something is going on, you don't know exactly what it is. Mysterious and sometimes unsettling. Of course, I didn't want to just mimic what Edward Hopper is doing, but I wanted to try and get in sync with that kind of atmosphere, and even push that unsettling or mysterious or eerie feeling, take it even a bit further, and I'll show you how in a minute. So this is kind of like a mood board of what I just started looking through on Google and on Pinterest and on Behance. And it's funny because watching yesterday's live stream with Jonas, I think I was taking the same process at the beginning, because when you think about urban nights and you think what's nighttime like in the city, and you get this feeling that it's all about the light glows and the neons, and so I gathered these references, and I started coming up to this, and well, this is where I sort of twisted the theme a bit, where instead of urban nights, I think I ended up with a suburban nights.
That's okay. We'll allow that. Don't worry about that. There's no need for that's all good.
Yeah. It's kind of in the same. In the same area, right? Yeah.
Of course.
So I really drew some inspiration from some of these kind of environments, with thinking about roadside motels and just kind of like a neon glow that's giving the atmosphere an unexpected color. So this is what I really wanted to work on. So I think I'm ready to show you what I'm about to get started today.
I mean, just to add, I mean, by the way, the comments, I have to kind of throw some comments at you because they are nothing but positive vibes. And I saw one comment, and I will scroll back, but one said, looking at your work is like watching a dream. It's like watching a dream, which I thought was quite nice, because it's that kind of, very much serenading, easy on the eye. We've got Andre, said such a talent. Less lines, and also our friend Tony Harmer, who I know you know that as well. So he's tuning in whilst he said that he's drawing a poster whilst he's listening to us. So hello, my friends, and welcome for joining. And of course, like we said at the beginning of the stream, any questions you have for Raquel while she's designing, about maybe it's her background or her process, please do get us in the chat while she's designing her flow. But I'm excited to sort of see you get into your design space, and let's crack on when you're ready.
I will take you right there. And okay, awesome. So I'm working on Adobe Fresco, as I've mentioned, I think. It's probably my favorite app to work on lately, because at least working in on the iPad. And so I'm gonna just guide you quickly through what I started to work on. Okay, so just let me do. Sorry.
Nice. Okay.
What I started is exploring some thumbnails, trying to get the concept that I was thinking on, just test it out in the composition. And so I have quite a few different approaches I can show you. This is kind of like where I started, and I wasn't really happy at this point. I tried to go for a completely different approach here, and I was sketching a completely different scene with I was trying to put a character in a public swimming pool at night with some kind of mysterious lighting effects on him, and I didn't quite solve it as I wanted to in the thumbnail. So I decided to skip this for now and work on this illustration maybe later, because I do have to solve the composition issues. And so this is what I was more comfortable with the idea that we have this kind of neutral suburban space, like near a roadside motel, and there's kind of like some diffuse lights from the light bulbs, street bulbs, and maybe a soft neon sign. And what I wanted, I didn't want just a character to inhabit that space. I wanted the character to be the focal point, and I wanted it to be unexpected and sort of strange. This is why I started sketching out these ideas of characters either floating or levitating, because I think it could be a really cool twist. So
just to add on that, I mean, I love the composition with the various that, I mean, again, a question I was going to ask you actually, when you're doing your drawings, do you find you kind of need to maybe step away from inside the desk to get some more inspiration when you're doing your sort of stamped drawings, or are you just more focused in your office drawing and that's your kind of safe space? Do you kind of step away from that whilst drawing, or is at home the best place for you to get the inspiration in order to
draw? Well, it depends actually, because I do tend to to be at my desk, all sourcing sourcing for inspiration, either researching online, going through books. But it's obviously invaluable to sometimes step out and go outside. And the thing is, you might not have the chance when you, for example, if you're on a deadline, you might not have the chance to step out and go in search of whatever ambiences and scenes that you want to try to capture. But so what I think it works best is if you get in the habit of doing that regularly or at least occasionally, if you get into the habit of going for walks and paying attention to the world around you and seeing, oh, this is cool, and you snap a quick picture on your smartphone. Sure. That could help you kind of build a library of references for later. And I've been trying to do this more and more recently, because I think it helps when you're trying to get an idea, when you have a client brief or you have a project that you want to develop, and if you want to have an idea, put out an idea, it's always nice that you have already something in your library of in your mind. I saw something that it's kind of in this vibe, kind of in this space. So let me try and see what inspiration I can get from that. And like Jonas said yesterday, I also really need to work based on references. I really need to see things to be able to create drawings. Otherwise, of course, with practice, you get more experienced in drawing things from memory, but you have to have seen them. You have to have them really
in the mind. I get that.
In your library. So, but also, looking through books, looking through the internet, looking through even through Behance, going through other artists' works, photography work, and illustration work, just to have that mind map of things that you think are interesting, and start building your identity. And so moving on here, what I ended up with, so this was the sketch that I chose to work on and the idea that I landed on. So it's kind of, like I said, a kind of neutral space with near a roadside motel, and all the focus that I wanted to give the illustration was on the character and this unsettling aspect of having her be kind of levitating, and I do want her to be glowing. I want her to be a non-realistic kind of magic-like character.
She's ascending to the above. I like that.
Maybe. Is she being abducted? I don't know. Is she magic like Dark
I'm
Phoenix?
getting Stranger Thing vibes kind of thing. I could be off piece here, but definitely getting Stranger Thing kind of vibes. But I absolutely adore it.
Maybe. I do like that environment from the series. So it's something that I relate to. The only thing when I was planning the work for this illustration, and as you might have noticed, I do tend to talk a lot for a long time. I do like to go through the process.
It's okay. We like to know. We like to know
of creating, and I knew that I wouldn't have time to properly finish this full widescreen format. So I ended up working on a cropped version. If Fresco and my internet collaborate, should open up shortly, and so I'm working on a cropped version. And apart from, even in terms of not thinking about in terms of time, I do think it helps me really focus more on the character without having so much empty space around her. So this is what I'll be working on today. And because working in a painterly style does take me a long time, I cheated a little bit, and I brought kind of like a base.
Okay. We'll let you off this one time. It's okay. We'll let you off.
Yeah, but it's so that I can get to the more interesting parts of the, I hope, of the work, because in my previous streams, what happened is that I focused mostly just on characters, and there was just two streams that I managed to create a character integrated in the environment. And I didn't get the chance to really detail that environment and really, because it's an hour and a half, and
You needed a third stream,
you
didn't you?
just
I would
yeah,
have done it,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Okay.
so what I wanted today was to have this base to get started, and just show you, after having those building blocks laid out, how can we work to hopefully add interest and create that mood with some color and lighting effects. So
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to show you what I have. So this is kind
Wow.
of like a
Nice.
simple layout, just to explain what I did here. I started working with some basic flat shapes for the buildings, and there's some aspects here that's still not finished. I just put in the character with a kind of like basic shading, so I can get the idea of the volume. And well, what I'm going to do now is add a little bit more detail and sort of start playing around with the lights and the shadows. So I hope we'll
Nice.
have
Yeah, let's
fun with
explore.
this.
I'm very excited to see it. And
Okay.
actually, whilst you're in the flow of doing that, I've got two questions. Oh, well, there's
Yeah.
multiple questions, but I'm going to strategically throw them out so that way I don't disturb you every time, because I know that's like a designer. But
No
yeah,
problem. No
so
problem. Keep them
we
coming.
have keep them coming. Okay, I shall. We have a good question from Stefanie. Hi, Stefanie. Said Raquel, are your sketch Raquel, sorry, are your sketches always so neat
It's
and orderly?
no, not at all. No.
Good question.
You saw from my thumbnails what my sketches start looking like, and I do tend to just tighten them a bit when I'm working, for example, with either with buildings that I don't want to mess up the perspective, or their shape when I'm painting. Okay, because it's really easy when you're painting. If you have a really loose sketch, at least for me, that it doesn't. I'm not. I know it doesn't work like that for everyone. I know artists who can do amazing jobs with just really rough sketches. For my case, I do need to have a bit more tight sketch when I'm working with an environment that has some perspective and some buildings, just so I make sure I don't totally
Yeah.
well, mess it up.
That's a
So
great question, Stephanie. And then let us know in the chat. I mean,
yeah,
what's your kind of
thank
way of
you.
working as well? It's always good to know how other create. I mean, again, this is the beauty of Adobe Live. Whether you're a student, graduate, or been in industry for
Yeah.
many years, it's always great to know how your perspective. Actually, from my side, it's funny because when I saw that comment about being very neat and orderly as a designer, I almost compare it to like your desktop. And your desktop background is like full of scattered.
Yeah.
And it's like a method to the man.
Yeah.
I'm not one to judge. But again, I mean, I live my life color coded, but I always quite curious to know how the creative folks live their lives. So let us know in the chat. I mean, there's no judgment here. I promise you that. And yeah, I'll let you do your thing, Raquel in Fresco. It's looking good so far, though. So yeah, what tool are we exploring now?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is, because I wanted to start working on the nighttime environment. I'm darkening kind of the image just a little bit, and putting in some areas of shading in the areas that surround the character, because this is why I laid out the character colors a bit like this to begin with. So I just keep in mind in the composition that that's the focal point, and that's where most of the warm lighting effect will be. And so I'm kind of doing this. I hope I'm not saying it wrong. Just light fallout, because when objects and things start to recede a little bit from your direct field of view, if there is kind of like a really focused lighting source, so they tend to be a bit darker, and I'm darkening those corners a little bit. So if I turn them off, it's really subtle. I'm not doing drastic changes here, but it's enough just to to help bring that the idea that the building it's not the relevant part of the image and is just a bit more in the shade.
Whilst you're doing that, there's a great comment from Sandra, and I hope I said that correctly, on that topic of the judging of how neat we are. I said, I don't want to judge, but I'll touch repeatedly. I love that. That's hilarious. And actually, there was a great question from again, there's multiple questions, but I'll start dripping them in whilst you're in the flow of it, Raquel. So Sandrine said as well previously, did you use perspective guides in Fresco? That's a great question.
Yeah, I did. I probably won't be able to show them here because because I was sketching in another document. The grids that I created were left on the original sketch document. Then I duplicated this just for the purpose of coloring, and my guides are in here. But yeah, it's not that I wanted a super it's not a very detailed perspective. It's not very complex. So this is kind of like simple 2-point perspective. But I did create it just kind of like imagining where the horizon line would be somewhere along the middle, the bottom middle of the image, and then just setting 2 focal points. So I'd have those guidelines to just not make things inaccurate and just disproportionate. So I do tend to use perspective lines. Yeah.
Nice. So, let us know again in the chat if that's something that you guys use. Friends, let us know in the chat, and we like to hear how everyone likes to work. So yeah, I'll let you do your thing, Raquel.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the light bulb here. This is a tricky part. I don't want this this light bulb to end up being too distracting and being the focal point. So I'll have to work on having a more diffused glow afterwards. But what I want to do is that what I was thinking in terms of color palette is I have here a sneak peek of what I. So this is
nice.
kind of like some hues that I
love that.
Yeah, I was while I was referencing and looking through images and of nighttime suburban areas with motels and neon glows. I was picking some types of shades and colors that I thought could work well, and I instinctively got attracted to this palette. That's kind of it's sort of kind of like complementary color palettes, because I'll be working with this bluish greens or greenish blues, and then the contrast will be with the warmer colors like the in magentas and reds and a bit of yellow. So nice. This is what I was working on, and what I want this to have is a bluish green or greenish blue sort of glow. So that's what I'm working on. So in this layer is where I put in just a basic light shape, like not a very super defined circle, kind of like a soft diffuse circle. I do like to work with different blending modes so that I can get the most of this the way that the colors mix with the background. And I'm going to do the same now and adding another layer. This time I think maybe let's try overlay. We'll see if that works. And
just to add as well, whilst you're doing that, it's great because again, with years of experience with what you're doing, and I guess that's the beauty of when you're a creative and a freelance in this space for a while, where you kind of know the program so well that when you jump into it, you kind of know where to kind of go. Like obviously we have a kind of go-to brushes or go-to styles, but do you find that sometimes even before you've even drawn anything out, you kind of, not that you got to figure the final deliverable already, but you kind of have an idea of the process of what you need to do and where you need to get to, just because of how much experience you have working in this space? Is that something that becomes, obviously each project's different?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, definitely, and you're absolutely right. Of course, Kieran. Every project is different, and of course, each one has its own sometimes methods and challenges even.
Mm.
And for example, for this illustration that I'm doing right now, I actually decided to take a risk and do something slightly different than I've been working on, at least different from what I've shown in the past Adobe live streams,
Mm.
because the ones that I did before, well, I kind of worked inside my comfort zone the whole time, because I wanted to make
Mm.
sure that whatever happened during the session, I was able to come up with a finished illustration that I was happy with. And
Yeah.
of course, that's my goal for today as well. But I am working with one foot out of my
I
comfort
love
zone,
that.
because
I love that. Yeah.
because yeah, this is the kind of thing that I've been exploring more recently, and I'm
Mm.
still learning, and I'm still testing out ideas, and I'm
Mm.
still looking to see what exactly works best to fit that vision that I have. And
Sure.
I think sometimes the most frustrating part of it may be when you have something in your mind, and in terms of either the technique or the process, you haven't really nailed it exactly how you're
Mm.
going to achieve it and bring it to life. So that might be a bit frustrating. So it does tie to what you were saying. It helps to have that practice and to
Sure.
keep practicing, and even, for example, if I'm not 100% sure of a certain thing that I want to introduce,
Mm.
a certain effect that I might want to try out for an illustration. For example, these kinds of things, knowing that when I want to work with the lighting and darkness effects
Mm.
and the kind of glows that I want to work on, it's easy to have a good memory of what, for example, what the best blending modes are
Yeah.
for this, you know, because
Exactly.
I know that if I want to go really low key, it
Mm.
works really well. For example, when you have daytime scenes, you can work with soft light
Mm.
blending modes just to give that little soft warm glow. But when you have nighttime and bigger contrasts, you might want to go to the more extreme with
Totally.
overlay and the color dodge and linear dodge, which is what I'm doing right
It's
now.
awesome.
So I
I
might
think as
end up
well,
just
just to add as well, I
picking.
mean, you made some really great points there, and I think that's the beauty of why we do Adobe Live. It's the key factor is really just to learn. I think there
Yeah,
is no end goal, and actually, when you mentioned that having one foot in your sort of safe space and then one out there in this sort of experiment, I absolutely adore that because with us creators, I mean, me included, we very much want to be perfectionists and show, of course, the final deliverable, but actually
exactly.
you're showing us insight into your world of basically how you operate as a creative. And if that means that sort of going on that route of experimenting and showing us things that you don't necessarily always do, I think we're quite happy to be on that journey with you. So yeah, keep us going for sure. We got some
Yeah.
questions again in the chat, which again I
Oh,
want to make sure I
perfect.
get through them because there is a lot of good questions. So we got Andre who said, if you have to present more than one idea, do you work and embellish the one you like more as a way to make the client choose that particular one? Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question, and well, it depends because sometimes the idea that I like best, I know it might happen that I know beforehand that it doesn't really fit what the client's asking of me. So that might be, I know it's going to be a stretch for them
Mm.
to accept my idea. I still try it anyway. But what I do always do, and it's a lesson that I've learned after I started working professionally as a designer and illustrator, is if I have a favorite version, a favorite alternative, I do try and present it in the best way possible. I do
Mm.
try and make it look as good as I can, and but I think the most important aspect it's the opposite thing. I decided to never ever 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 even show a version or an alternative that I'm not 100% comfortable with. Because if I have a drawing that's not so well done or not so well resolved, and if I notice that this isn't something that I'm comfortable working on, I don't want to do this. I just nowadays I don't submit that at all, because yeah, every single time the client will choose the version that you like the least.
I was just going to say that. That's always the case though. Like you think, oh, there's great ones, but there's one like not so sure, submit it, and actually that's the one they like. And annoyingly, it's like having your, well, I guess your name and your brand as well attached to something that you're not 100% comfortable with. So that's cool to sort of hear how you work that. And also in the chat I feel like it's a great day because we've got all of our free illustrators who are doing the Urban Nights in one space pretty much. We've got Jonas from yesterday.
That's so cool.
Hey Jonas, how you doing,
Jonas?
buddy? He says, do you ever start working from black and white and then add colors in afterwards, or go straight to colors?
Oh, that's a really, really interesting question, because I almost talked about that a little bit a while ago. I didn't used to do that. I mostly in the beginning, when I started working in illustration, I almost always worked directly from color, building in layers from background to foreground, then detailing, then shading, then adding lighting effects. And more recently, I have been experimenting more with working in grayscale to because there's something that I've learned, and I'm still learning about it. That's really interesting. That I think I might even have mentioned this in one of my previous streams, is that there was a point when I was starting out, and I was working professionally in illustration for a while, but I wasn't well, as experienced as I am now. And what I noticed is that I always thought that there was something not quite right about my illustrations. There was something that I thought was missing, and things that I couldn't put exactly my finger on them, but I knew that they had to be improved. And I have been discovering that it's about sometimes not thinking how value the contrast between the lighter and darker areas of an image, how that really affects what you're trying to convey. Because the composition elements might all be correct and laid out where they should be, but if you mess it up with color and with values, things won't turn out exactly as you want them. So this is what I've been trying to practice more. And so even though I'm not doing this today, I have been practicing with it more recently, and I think it's a great approach to really help you nail the contrasts in your image, and it really helps put the focus on the focal point. So sorry about the redundancy, but that's
we love it. We're good for redundancy and the occasional pun in these streams. That's a great question, Jonas. And again, I can see a lot of folks have actually tuned in even more so recently. So if you have just tuned in, we're about in that sort of near the hour mark. And today we have the very talented Raquel Costa, who's an illustrator, story maker, and also the co-founder of Little Black Spot Studio. And today is even special because we're in the flow of a 3-part series, today being part 2, with Raquel, and she's working on Urban Nights, which is part of our theme for these 3-part series. And she's creating her own different unique take on it as well. So stay tuned. And again, any questions you have, please do get us in the chat, as much as you guys already, because there is plenty to kind of go through. I'm just hitting the nail on the trying to get the tip of the iceberg here, but there's still quite a few to get through, but we're in a good place. We're in a good place.
Thank you so much for keeping those questions coming, Kieran. It's good to have you here.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah. It's really, really great. So I think my Fresco was having a glitch for a moment there. So I've been working on getting that kind of greenish blue or bluish green diffuse glow for the light bulb, and now I'm going to work here on the building just to add a little bit of a warm glow that's going to help tie into the character that's also in the warm glow. So I'm just gonna put kind of a soft neon. And you might see that I'm always scrolling through my brush list. I have a few favorite brushes that I like to work with. It's the only thing that's still not perfect about Fresco, that you can't really make custom organization for your brushes and create smaller folders for projects.
It's an update. I mean, I'm just saying, it could be.
Yeah, I was
that.
just dropping this in case anyone's listening. And
Drop the mic. Boom.
Yeah, it will be a very, very welcome update when it comes. And so I'm just okay, not super happy with this. I'm just gonna do this.
And actually, whilst you're doing that, that's a great time, because again, that's the beauty of, again, all these tools we have at our disposal, right? Whether it's Photoshop, InDesign, Fresco, whatever you feel comfortable in, there's so much stuff you could, keep on learning. And this is why, I mean, you guys are, ladies and gentlemen, are actually in a great place to actually learn about these. Whether we have our creative tutorials or we have our streams like today, you're in a good place to really sharpen those design skills in each tool, because there's a lot we can all learn, right? There's no final definitive moment as to say I've completed this program, that's it. There's always an update that pops up or something new that we can learn. So yeah, you're in a great place to sharpen those skills for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the funny thing is, because I mentioned I'm a teacher, and at this moment I'm actually teaching digital illustration techniques, mainly focused on Photoshop, and it's one of the things that it keeps popping up most during my classes, is that I can't help but mention how far Photoshop has come in the last,
yes.
Well, I could even say in the last 5 years, but when I think of it to 20 years ago or even more, when I first started experimenting with it,
so true.
Well, it's such a big change, and these tools keep improving, and it's a process, and you really see how Adobe's invested in shaping these tools so they will respond to the users' needs and expectations. So that's cool. And in the beginning, I wasn't completely sold on Fresco. I admit I was really used to working in Photoshop. But nowadays, I only go through Photoshop for some specific last minute tune-ups that I need to do in an image, because when it's for doing what I am doing now, painting and creating an image, Fresco has come such a long way. It's a really incredible tool. And
it's almost like it's almost like if you just discovered these Adobe tools, you're quite a sport for choice, really, because like Raquel said, if it was like 20 years ago, probably even 20 years, maybe even less than that, but there's so many updates that if you are just kind of exploring these tools, or you're just curious, or it's a new job role or anything like that, literally the world is at your own suspense. What am I trying to say? It's at your disposal. That's the word. I needed the word in the lingering in my brain.
Disposal.
Suspense. I think it's the suspense of knowing what's going to come next in your work. That's why it's in my brain. Nice recovery. So yeah, great question. And get those questions again in the chat. We've got some Sadrian who's saying, what were you saying? You said you could gather them or duplicate. I think this is regarding to the brushes. You could gather them or duplicate in your own library on Photoshop and then retrieve them in Fresco. That's what they do. So and then narrow my favorite library. That's always cool to know how other folks have their tips.
That's a really cool tip. It's from Sandrine.
Yeah, that's from Sandrine.
Sandrine is a really talented and skilled designer, and she's always on top of these kind of
she knows the stuff.
Yeah, useful. Yeah, she knows the stuff and these useful tips. So thank you, Sandrine, for sharing. And so I was just struggling here a little bit to find the brush that I wanted to just for this effect.
Tim made an amazing comment. Oh, no, you're good. You're in a good place. Tim made a great comment, actually. He said, even with Fresco as well, you're not actually tied to your desk. You could be on the move. You could be doing it on the plane. You could be on the move. You're in a great place. So I'm
so sorry.
That's okay. This is the beauty of live stream. Things will pop up It's all good. It's all good. Whilst we're doing that, I'll go through whilst you're trying to tidy up
Okay.
and I'll go through the chat as well. So we've got
An
Kirsty who said
unexpected crash.
that's
So,
okay.
oh,
It's
I
live
was
streaming.
making, yeah. So,
It's all good. It's all
okay.
good. We're in a good place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I think I might be well, asking a bit too much from Fresco because I do have already quite a few layers laid out, and then I decided to work on a large resolution and large format this time because I want because I want to print it out the illustration
Nice.
later. So Fresco might be
Giving it too much to.
just getting
I
yeah
always
too
imagine
much
it
to
as like
process at
having like
once.
loads of shopping in a boot of a car and trying to get them all on one finger. Just like you can come back for I tend to do like versions because I work in InDesign a lot, but I don't know if you ever do it, but I always do
Hmm.
like a V1, V2, never V60. That's just too much. But yeah, I
Totally.
try and have versions of. I know you can go back. Let us know in the chat. How do you kind of operate when you? I think we're all kind of, especially if you're in that space a lot with Photoshop, Fresco, or any other program really. If you're using or working on a big file, do you kind of break things down into segments, i.e. V1, V2, or are you kind of just winging it, or are you just like, you know what, let's put it all in one file and hope for the best, which it can happen. Let us know in the chat how you operate. No judgment here, I promise.
Well, on my part, I do tend to work with versions,
Mm,
especially at critical points where I'm making a shift or creating alternative versions. I do tend to do the V1, V2, V3, and it's
nice.
also a nice strategy to help you become that meme that sometimes people share that designers always have like the project whatever final the
Oh, like
real
loads of letters.
finalist. Yeah. So I don't have
Oh
that
yeah,
because I have V1, V2, V3,
nice.
whatever, and the largest number is the is the latest. So
That's hilarious. We've all got our little back in the days where I mean, yeah, I won't pretend like it was perfect, but even university days where you're in a rush, but sometimes like it's like the occasional GFYUIP. I'm just looking at my keyboard right now, just thinking which letters would I could quickly have typed in to press save. But now, yeah, you've got to find a nice more method to not only streamline but actually make it more easy on yourself as you're going through files, and even if you have to share files with other designers, no one wants to get a file
mhm.
with gibberish as the file name. So yeah, I can see Sandrine's put on her, for God's sake, this is real final version V4. That's actually quite a good sentence. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks who have adapted to that question. The idea of having to name your files in different ways. We're all accustomed to it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just testing out the blending modes here for this. I might return to this later. I'm not super happy with the effect yet. So what I'm doing right now is it's one of the cool tricks about Fresco. When I'm working with a specific brush, especially one that's meant to create these like broad strokes with some kind of texture or grain. I do like to erase with a brush. It's really cool that you can just tap this
Nice.
little dot here and it helps you erase. So
Makes life a lot easier, right? It's that streamline of a
yeah,
process. Jonas just
indeed.
said in the chat, PSB to the rescue, which on that topic of big files, yes, we love a PSB. When it goes just over that sort of tipping point, isn't it? Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep those comments in the chat, please do. They're great.
So right now I'm just putting in some bounce light, some projected light in the scene from this warm neon. Don't want it to become too overpowering and
But it's
remove
cool because the edges has that kind
some.
of like grunge-like look, doesn't it? It's obviously all the lights coming from
Yeah,
within, and it's kind of cool seeing the kind of edges. that almost like slight gradient build up. It's really, even from the night sky, is really nice.
Yeah, thank you. So just adjust this a little bit.
I've got a question whilst you're doing that. Have you ever been curious?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, perfect.
When you're in the process of doing these illustrations or designing, do you ever think, if this was animated, or seeing it in the? Because I watching this now, I feel like I would, if it was like I don't know, I'll say Wes Anderson, but if it was like an animated movie for like 20, I would happily tune in and watch this. Do you ever think, this could be quite cool if it was animated or made into like a moving imagery of some sort? Would that go through your mind sometimes?
It's it's a really interesting question, Kieran, because it actually came up in one of my previous streams, I think from Tony Harmer.
Tony, it's Tony Harmer question.
And,
I love that.
And yeah, I do frequently think that I would like to see my characters and my illustrations moving. I've been a bit slow myself in testing it out, although I do have some experiences made, and I would love to see them transfer from just this two-dimensional medium to a moving animated space. So yeah, it would be.
That sounds like a collaboration waiting to happen for any animators in the group. Like, it's maybe reach out, and who knows? I mean, the beauty of collaboration, right? You tap into different skills which you don't have, and you make it work and create something great. So who knows, Raquel? After this stream, you're going to get a whole heap of animators reaching out, wanting to collaborate to make a new masterpiece. I'll definitely watch that.
They're very welcome, of course. I would be happy to receive those, and I'm happy to collaborate creatively, of course, as always. So
nice.
I'm just going to start paying a little bit more attention to my character right now. I had laid out just the basic volume and outline. I'm just going to detail it a little bit.
I've just seen a great comment from Stefanie, and actually, it's a good time to mention it. As we said before, folks, obviously this is a 3-part series. We've got 3 illustrators from various design backgrounds working on Urban Nights theme. We had yesterday with Jonas, today we have Raquel, and actually tomorrow we got Stefanie, who's actually put a great comment in the chat just now. And she said, well, it's actually a response that she's had. I once got an error dialogue from Photoshop saying I've used the maximum amount of layers. I didn't even know that was a thing. How many layers did you use? You have to. Have you seen that before, because I've never seen the pop-up that says you've now. It's just too much. Sorry, you're not coming in. There's too many people in there. That is hilarious.
I'm impressed. And well, now I'm really curious to see Stefanie's stream, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch it live, unfortunately, because I'll be teaching a class at the time. But I will try to, if not tune in during the stream, at least I will definitely watch it later, because I'm really curious to see her work process. Her work is amazing. And
I don't know if we're gonna have if we're gonna have the massive layers tomorrow's stream, but who knows? Maybe she's gonna surprise and be like, "This is what it looks like. I found a way to make it work."
How? I didn't even know that. I don't think it never happened to me that Photoshop mentioning a layer limit. So
you could be. I don't know if you're memeing us. I don't know if it is. That's a great meme. That's hilarious. Just like I feel like it's just like there's just too many. Like, can you imagine the endless scroll you have to do with layers if you've just got I don't know how many layers you've got. It's hilarious.
Can I ask one question back to Stefanie, because I was just wondering, do you name all those layers, all those
Good
thousands
question.
of layers?
They're color coded. They're color coded. There's only so many colors you can have, though. No, like I feel like you've gone over the color wheel. You've made your own wheel. You're doing gradients now, and you're like, can you imagine gradient layers? Going off piece now. Actually, Stefanie said my mistake was putting each raindrop in an animation on a separate layer. What a mistake! Okay, we'll let you off. We'll let you. That's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
Poor computer. I don't know. Poor file. Yeah. And then Jane, another folk in the chat, has just said raindrop 347. Yeah. There we go. But it's great to hear these experiences because again, you're in the perfect place for sharing. I love to hear these experiences, whether it's good or bad. Yeah, no judgment. It's nice to hear
Definitely.
both work.
Well, and you'd be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be surprised probably, Kieran, because you're hosting these live streams all the time. But I think some people would be surprised how much everyone learns, even when you're experienced professionals in the area, because there's always someone that knows that little extra tip
Of course.
and trick for a specific software. And I'm always learning from the hosts, from the participants, from the other creatives that are
Yeah.
doing live streams. It's really helpful.
On that
It's a
topic,
really cool thing.
I mean, you mentioned obviously, I think you worked before with Tony Harmer, who's an amazing Adobe Live host and also educator. Who's I think he's actually said he was listening in, but I hosted him a few was it weeks or months back, and again, I remember learning so much about InDesign and Photoshop, which I generally believed.
True.
I've been doing it for a few years. I thought I knew, and again, it just opens another door. But then again, he's a wizard when it comes to design, so you're gonna find out some stuff when the wizard
Yeah.
speaks. I'll put that there. And actually, Stefanie's comment in the chat. Yes, you're right. Groups, Kieran, groups. Of course, silly me thinking it's a single layer continuous scroll. Of course, you're going to do groups. I mean, I'm learning right now. There we go. But yeah, it's great to have those comments in the chat.
Yeah, I like to group everything together as well. And you might have noticed that I'm doing that with Fresco even. I'm just grouping stuff together. And while I'm working right now, I'm getting a bit lazier in that process, but I usually name my layers even in Fresco. So
That's okay. That's not a weird thing. That's totally fine. You name your. I name, and I mainly in Photoshop. I name, but I color code. My brain works with color a lot more. If anyone's seen a lot of my streams, you'll know I always talk about having moleskin books, and I always talk about layering my folders in colors. And that's not me being funny. It's just generally I feel like my brain has to work in that format, right? Green is good. Red is pending, kind of thing. Yeah, there we go.
That's a cool system. Yeah. Whatever works, right? It's useful.
We've got a great comment here from Kirsty. Said, I'm always learning, but also you get the great Photoshop and graphic design teacher on the planet, Tony Harmer. Tony Harmer, you got a fan base. Here's the thing I can see. Anyone who hasn't seen any of his streams, of course, after this stream, and of course after Stefanie's stream tomorrow, definitely watch more streams, including Tony Harmer's and a lot more hosts, because we have so much content for you guys to really delve into and to digest and to learn as well and sharpen your skills. So if you are just tuning in, especially for the first time today, a massive welcome, and you're in a good space to learn more, primarily about Fresco, with the wonderful Raquel Costa. So yeah, welcome.
So right now I'm just making sure that I add some more volume to the character.
One thing I've noticed, which I love about your illustrations, and from what I've seen in previous and now, is like the simplicity of the face. There's no eyes, there's no definitive features, which again it allows you, well, my perspective on it all and taking it is that you kind of focus on the elements surrounding the character, or even the fact that what's happening, rather than their emotion of if they're smiling or sad or whatnot with the eyes.
Yeah, it depends, of course, on the project and the illustration that I'm working on, and there are situations where it's absolutely relevant to show the character's expression, and because that's the main focus of the narrative that you're trying to illustrate. So if it's kind of like a more close up, or if it's important and relevant to the illustration, into the visual narrative, to let you into that character's mind, it's important to have the expression. In this case, because it's not a really big close-up, and especially because I wanted to have this mystery, keep a more mysterious approach, and not just, I don't want you to know what's in the character's head. I want you to
I love
wonder.
that. Yes, that
Yeah,
suspense.
yeah, because I like to wonder myself, and so for this case, I don't
Mm,
want to detail and really make her a really identifiable, recognizable person.
mm.
So
I like that
just
as well, and it's
some
up for
bit.
the idea of interpretation as well, right? It's you know, you get the
Oh,
vibe.
sorry,
Yeah,
happened again.
Fresco, it's all good.
Small
It's all
crash.
good. It's testing your patience today, but you're in a good place. Should pop up again.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question actually relating to not necessarily um your design skills, but it's like how you work when you design. So for example, do you tend to have maybe music in the background? What's kind of your space for to make you feel as comfortable as possible to, I don't know, say you got a deadline day and you need to really crunch down? Are you focused designing super quiet or hands in the background? I don't know, like what's your kind of thing when you're working? It could even be incense. I think we had a streamer once who mentioned they have incense in the background, lavender. I don't know. Have you got a sort of thing that you do when you're in the zone?
Uh, um, I don't have kind of like a ritual or
Mm.
anything. I'm not a big fan of incense and stuff. I'm quite sensitive about smells, so preferably no specific smells.
That's quite
If
distinctive,
there
that
is
as well.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be if the environment smells nice, it has to be something really subtle like
Mm.
jasmine flower or orange tree blossom. So
And
those are
music?
the kind of but music, yes, definitely. I
Nice.
almost always work listening to music, and
Nice.
whatever I'm working on or the stage of the process that I'm in might
Mm.
influence the kind of playlist that I have. Sometimes it will be more upbeat, like rock or pop or hip hop vibe, and if I need to be really focusing on a
Mm.
kind of like when I'm laying out concepts and ideas, and I'm in that more complex phase where when
Sure.
I need my brain power to be really focused, then I tend to listen
Yeah.
to like jazz or something really
I get that.
just instrumental that helps get into
Yeah.
the mood. And for example, for this kind of I'm sorry. For this kind of illustration that I'm working on today,
Mm.
um, I would probably be choosing kind of like
What's the
maybe a
mode? What's the
soundtrack
mood of
from
Raquel?
from yeah the you know the movie Drive with Ryan
Of
Gosling.
course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I really
Nice.
like that soundtrack. And
Yeah.
you mentioned Stranger Things before, even Stranger Things
Yeah.
soundtrack and that type of eerie
Nice.
soundscape would work really well. And so sometimes I do
Mm.
that. Um,
That's great to hear.
for
I think
example,
oh sorry, no, go for it.
no, it's okay, it's okay. I was just going to say,
Mm.
I when I was working in that short comic story that I showed just a few sneak peeks from earlier,
Mm.
one thing that I was listening to a lot was London Grammar. It's a band that I
I know
really
London
really
Grammar, of
love.
course. Yeah, I know London Grammar.
Of course.
Are they still going? Are they still
And
going? I don't know if they're still going. Sorry, I'm going off piece now. Are
I'm not
they?
sure. I'm not sure. I admit.
Okay.
But yeah, I love their music, and it really helped me get into the zone of creating those
Mm,
environments. So music does help a lot.
I love that. It's the reason why I love to get that question in, excuse me, is because I always say the beauty of, and I mean, perhaps I've got the best job in terms of hosting these amazing designers, but I like to sort of see the design work of how you operate, but also the person behind the work as well. So in terms of, how you feel the most comfortable. And again,
Yeah.
in the chat, let us know how you operate, how you tend to work. Do you need music? Do you not have to have complete silence? Everyone's got their own way of working. But yeah,
Hmm.
I totally
Hmm.
echo your vibe as well, Raquel, because I'm the same. I need to have a bit of put some cool tunes in the background, or even doing what Tony Harmer's doing, where you've got Adobe Live in the background,
Hmm.
maybe just plugging that whilst you're in this design of it. It's nice to actually hear other people like have a conversation as well. No, I know it sounds weird, but in the background, if it's especially if it's like a late night
Hmm.
at a late night deadline and you're just kind of super focused. Having tunes could help, but also maybe if it's like an Adobe Live, because the time difference, depending on where you're viewing in from, just hearing people or designers talk about design in the background, like really muted, but just enough that it's there. That can also, I've done that before many times, which sometimes help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, depending on the work that I'm doing, sometimes it's really, really good to have that kind of it's sound to keep you company and to make you feel like you're still
Sane.
joining in, even though you're having to work. Yeah.
Nice. So can you walk us in obviously what you're working, you're kind of doing the edges now. Is that trying to get more defined features?
I'm doing this kind of I'm accentuating this rim light. Okay, so I want the character. I will put in some outer glow soon, but right now I'm just trying to find the best way just to really make these edges glowing. So before I was painting on the same base layer, I was it's one thing that I've been trying to do in terms of methodology, working in this more painterly style, is that I do tend to put everything in its own separate layer. And for this specific type of style, I was trying to be more spontaneous and bring in the process that I have when working analog in paper, because you work exactly on the same surface all the time. And so I am trying to reduce the number of layers that I increase. So first a painterly approach, then these other layers, just to really pop up the glows, the brightness, or the contrast. So it's what I'm doing, and I know we're running kind of short on time, so I'm going to start speeding up a little bit. Just I want to try and add some.
I'll definitely give you a bit of a it's like you're reading my notes, actually. Very strategic. It's like I will definitely, because I know it's one thing to design asking questions and design keep track of time, like, so let me be that person to help you with the timing. So again, I mean, I was going to give you a heads up in 3.3 seconds maybe, so I've got your back, don't worry. I've got your back. And then and what we'll do is we'll get to a nice point. I'll give you a heads up for 10 minutes, and then we'll do like a nice recap as well, and of course for how our lovely audience can know more about you as well. But yeah, right now we're still in the flow of it, so I've got your back when it comes to timing, don't worry.
Thank you so much, Kieran. It really helps a lot. So I have this. I'm going to finish up with the character volume, just switching brush a little bit. And so let me just add a layer for a tiny bit of shading. I'm going to try and bring the shading from the kind of like complementary color range. And just,
I was just thinking, whilst you're doing that, can you imagine being at a motel and walking around the corner and just seeing this person, just the freakiness? It's almost like freakiness slash I want to get my phone and record this because this is awesome. I don't know, am I the only one that thinks that? I can't be the only one that thinks that weird. I don't know what you would do if you walked around the corner and saw this beautiful, but well, it's very different, isn't it? And where am I going with this? I have no idea, but there we go. We've got Andre who said those dots have spiced things up a little bit. Nice. I love that. Great comment, Andre. It's
because I wanted to help convey the feeling that she might be how should I say this? She might not be made of matter well, she might be made of matter, but not just flesh and bone. Who knows? Maybe she's transforming and becoming pure energy. And
there is a twist to this story, Raquel. You keep on throwing us twists and turns. I love it. It's great.
But this is just me spitballing. ideas myself because I'm not 100% sure of what's her story. And it's something that oh no, I think my Fresco. No, it's not
You're
crashing.
good.
It was
You're good.
just
It was
saving.
teasing you, but you're back. You're back.
Yeah. Almost gave me a scare. No, it did crash.
It did.
Okay,
It's
so
okay.
while it opens, I'll get on to what I was saying if I remember what I was saying.
Yeah, no worries.
Sometimes when you have to have a plan and a concept that works, and then that you test it out in your head, and you know that the general idea or the general mood works. And then sometimes the specifics of the story is something that you end up discovering while working and thinking additionally about while I'm painting this, what's this suggesting to me? What's the pictures? What's it saying when it talks to me? So it's
Nice.
it's kind of what's happening right now. I know I wanted this character to be mysterious, and I knew that I wanted her to make whoever's watching wonder what's with her. I wanted her to feel unsettling, kind of.
Well, actually,
But
as well as you mentioned, I feel like that. I mean, you've definitely ticked the boxes in wanting us to feel that kind of mood, and especially Stefanie as well. He's also our third designer for tomorrow for our theme. He said, "Nobody wraps freakiness in such a lovely." Let me start again. Nobody wraps freakiness in such lovely colors, though. I love how Raquel pushed her pastel colors to such neon feel. That's an awesome comment. It's very, very true as well.
oh, thank you so much. It's
Positive
such a
vibes
delight
all around.
to be yeah, to be sharing this with everyone. And so now I'm just realizing that I might need to change.
And just a flag, Raquel, because I promise you, would give you a flag on the time. I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I never did that.
Yeah.
We've got, I would say, about another 5 minutes or so. So maybe in that space we could do like a nice little wrap up of like what you've kind of done. But then also we'll leave some space so that folks can obviously know more about you as well at the end. So there we go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kieran, for the heads up. So what I'm finishing on is just I added these specks, like light specks, and I'm just making them glow a little bit with soft brush and an overlay blending mode. And I'm going to add a general glow layer that I will test out. So let's see. Maybe we can work with this. And so it's
That's
just
awesome. Very, very cool.
Adding here just so right now I'm still in normal mode, not particular blending mode, because I want to test it if it's too extreme with color or linear dodge, or maybe the overlay, or even no, this is too much. So probably, yeah, I'm gonna go with this.
I feel like we're all getting a real insight into your design, proper design flow for the next few minutes, but it's great because like it's yeah, the whole process you've still taken us on the journey it's been awesome. That glow really adds a lot to the whole design actually, what you're doing now. Wow.
Yeah, and well, not still 100% happy with it, because I will probably need to do some more tweaks here and there. But yeah, it's the general gist of what I do.
And I feel like we all got the that kind of vibe as well, which is great.
Yeah, so
when you're in a good point, let me know, and I want to throw one last question, and then we'll do like a nice little wrap up. and then throw
Yeah.
stuff in.
You can
Yeah.
pop in that question. Yeah.
Awesome, and it's from our friend Tony Harmer. He said on the topic of animation, he said, "Would you maybe be doing this animated lay? Would you animate this layer? Let me start again. Wow, would you animate this later, Raquel? There was a lot of errors. Yeah, would you animate this later, perhaps, or would you want to maybe do that? Is that something that you entertain if you had the opportunity to?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think I would know where to start at this point, but no, with the image that I
I
have
think so.
here.
Yeah, I think that's what Tony
But
means. Yeah.
yeah, maybe because well, Tony asks that, and of course, especially since the character is levitating and adding these kind of little light specks, it's you can't help but see her like really
Moving through
slowly
though.
moving upwards, and the specks are just slowly swirling around her in that wavy motion. So yeah, it does inspire that idea, and I would see myself going for
Nice.
that
And if not,
yeah.
there's collaborators maybe to be had, right? I feel like that's the beauty of utilizing different skill sets from friends in our community, right? Collaborations can come
Yeah,
about. So should we do perhaps like a little bit
yeah,
of a recap? I was gonna say just
yeah, the
Fresco is doing it.
Fresco quit on me, so I'm not gonna yeah,
That's okay.
keep pushing any further. But I'll just open up to show you where I've come at, and guide you through what what are the main topics that I try to convey while working here, and what's left to do, because that's a really important part of it. So
just a flag. Sorry,
as I
Raquel, just before
mentioned
you go in, I
before,
want to make sure you have it all there. We've got about a minute. So and that's not, I hate being that person, but just so that way we can give a nice little end to it. So within that minute, you're going to give us the best juice of the nucleus of what you've done. No pressure.
yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely no pressure. No, just to keep it as simple as possible. So with the theme Urban Nights, I ended up going through a more suburban nights approach, really inspired by the neo-noir atmospheres, and those kinds of eerie and unsettling atmospheres where something mysterious is always lurking. And so for that approach, I put a character that's mysterious. She's in a gesture that's kind of unsettling, because you don't know exactly what's her story and what's happening to her, because she's floating or levitating, and she's glowing. And I wanted to use a kind of limited color palette based on complementary hues of like greenish blues and warm magentas and reds to really focus on this character and bring the focal point to the character. You might have noticed that I try a more painterly approach to my work, with less reliance on line work. What's left for me in this image that still needs some work and to be really on point is that I think it does need a little bit more detailing. I would probably, with more time, help define the motel building a little bit more, with some cracks and scratched paint. And I would finish, of course, this board that's leaning towards the motel, add some more details in the window and on the floor, and just to fine tune the character a little bit, because I'm not 100% satisfied with the glowing effect, and it might have to do with the colors that I'm choosing to create the glow. So it would need a little bit more fine tuning, but
there's always an extra that we want to, as a designer, you're always going to find, right, like little bits and bobs that you could, because from our side, and I can definitely echo this from the comments in the chat, it's been nothing but positive of your design skill. But it's interesting hearing those tweaks that you would make just to really make it that extra special. And who knows, maybe after the stream and down the line, you might work a bit more, and folks can follow up a bit more and sort of see it, and it's polished,
I will
definitely
I will definitely work on this illustration later, and I'll share it, of course, because it's been a really interesting challenge to share with you guys, and I want to see it through to
nice.
on point.
Well, you've definitely knocked the ball out of the park with that one. And yeah, it's been an absolute honor to sort of host you and see. And again, just very quickly, can you mention where our lovely audience can kind of catch up with you and follow up with you? Is it via your website? If you just mention it.
Yeah. I do have a website under maintenance for longer than it should. Littleblackspot.com. It's going to be no, but it will be reworked this year. So from currently, the best way to keep up with me and my work is follow me on Instagram on Little Black Spot. I'm also on Twitter as LBS illustration, and of course on Behance, it's my name, Raquel Costa. It's probably linked somewhere in the stream. So yeah, you can follow me on Facebook even as Little Black Spot Studio. Yeah, just find me anywhere.
No, and yeah, like you said, we've actually put it in the excuse me, in the lovely chat from the lovely Tim. So excuse me. Croaky voice. Yeah, so on that note, Raquel, it's been an absolute pleasure to host you. Everyone in the chat has definitely been loving your design flow and design stream. And on that note, just to mention, we've got Joe Allen tomorrow with a crash course in InDesign. And after that, we're going to have our third part of our Urban Night stream with Stefanie Grunwald and the lovely Tim, who'll be hosting that as well. So Raquel, I hope you've enjoyed it, this stream. Have you had a good time?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kieran. You've been an amazing host. It was lovely being here, and these 90 minutes just flew by. I can't believe how little I managed to do. Imagine if I didn't bring half the painting done.
No, you can blame Fresco for re-updating. No, don't worry, it's not you.
No, but it's okay. I had a lot of fun, and this is something that I really enjoy doing. I'm always happy to share with the community. So I want to thank Adobe Live team once again for having me, and for everyone that just showed up and stayed in the chat, just showing their love and support, and with your questions. It's really great to be here. Thank you.
I love that. I feel the energy. All right. So on that note, a massive thank you again, like Raquel said, to our Adobe Live team for behind the scenes, making things run very smoothly. And of course, the audience. Without you guys, and ladies and gentlemen, there is no Adobe Live. So thank you again for joining us. And that note, we hope you enjoyed the stream. Stay safe, my friends, and we'll see you all very soon. Ciao.